Good evening. My name is Tina Matthew, and welcome to the live broadcast of the first Apostolic visit of Pope Francis to Kingdom of Bahrain, and you're watching us live from Bahrain. Peace to people of Goodwill. Pope Francis will be arriving today at Sakir Air Base, and the estimated landing time is 4:45 local time. This is a 4-day visit, and our Father will be attending 12 events. This time, it's Kingdom of Bahrain that is all set to welcome the Vicar of Christ. Bahrain, this Islamic kingdom, is one of the smallest countries of the world that shows marvelous correlations between various religions and communities around the world. Tolerance, freedom, and the ambience to live in a peace sustaining the individual culture that we belong to is a precious gift Bahrain has given to its people. And as a fact, number of churches, mosques, and temples will prove it all. Here's a small video about Bahrain.
The Kingdom of Bahrain, known as the Island of Pearls, is made up of 33 islands. Located in the Arabian Gulf between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Qatar, its total area is 780 kilometers square. Manama, Bahrain's capital, is the largest city in the country. The country takes immense pride in being a thriving, multicultural hub that welcomes people from all around the world with its tolerant attitude, educational, health facilities, and services. Bahrain's population is currently around 1.2 million. The earliest human settlement in Bahrain's islands dates back almost 5,000 years. It was home to many civilizations, including Dilmun, Tilis, and Awal. Bahrain's strategic location in the Persian Gulf brought rule and influence from the Persians, Sumerians, Assyrians, Babylonians, Portuguese, Arabs, and the British. Excavation and historic evidence prove Bahrain to be a commercial hub and a sea transit point between East and West. The modern era of Bahrain began when Sheikh Isa bin Salman Al Khalifa came into power on December 16, 1961, and is considered one of the pioneer Arab leaders who built the country based on justice and stability. On August 15, 1971, Bahrain was declared independent from the United Kingdom, and it heralded its constitution in 1973. When King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa came to power in 1999, Bahrain entered a new period of reforms and development within a constitutional monarchy in line with the National Action Charter and the amended constitution in 2002. Since then, Bahrain has made pioneering developments in the political, legal, and constitutional arena, which has given it a prominent position both regionally and internationally. Today, the country has laid out a broad vision that aims to make its economy sustainable and robust by the year 2030.
The Holy Father is visiting the Kingdom of Bahrain from today for coming 4 days. He will be spending the valuable time with prominent leaders over here to build human fraternity and peace among different religions. Being the head of the smallest country in the world, the arrival marks another phase to the Christian communities in Bahrain.
The visit of the Vicar of Christ to Bahrain will be etched in golden letters in the annals of history. It is for the first time that a Roman pontiff is setting foot on the island of Pearls. The 4-day visit of Pope Francis to the Persian Gulf island nation will leave an indelible mark on both believers and people of other faiths. For more than 100,000 Catholics, who mostly comprise expatriates from India, the Philippines, Sri Lanka and Pakistan, the presence of the Holy Father will be a powerful sign of the paternal love of the successor of St. Peter. Placing aside linguistic and cultural differences, the believers will stand united in faith to be animated by the Pope and receive his apostolic blessing. Pope Francis's presence on the island will invigorate the faith of thousands of believers and powerfully demonstrate Christian fraternal love that manifests in the universality of the Church. The apostolic visit will also give joy and consolation to countless believers in neighbouring Saudi Arabia, where there are no churches nor public worship. Some of them are expected to visit Bahrain to have a glimpse of their Holy Father. It will be a public manifestation of the Catholic faith when the Pope presides over Holy Mass in Bahrain's National Stadium in Rifah. When the Pontiff makes a visit to the Cathedral of Our Lady of Arabia in Awali, it will be a crowning moment for the largest church in the Arabian Peninsula. In this magnificent edifice, Pope Francis will take part in an ecumenical service by reaching out to sister churches and to separated Christians. The successor of Peter reminds everyone of Christ's wish that they may all be one. As the supreme head of over 1 billion Catholics, the Holy Father will seek to foster greater understanding between world religions at the Bahrain Forum for Dialogue, East and West for Human Coexistence. Pope Francis will also hold a special meeting with Sheikh Ahmed Al-Tayeb, Grand Imam of Egypt's Al-Azhar al-Sharif, and one of the most prominent figures in the Islamic world. The second visit of the Holy Father to the Arabian Peninsula will spread peace and goodwill among all and foster greater understanding and tolerance.
Every papal visit carries a motto and a signature logo in relation with importance of the country the visit happens. And this time, when it comes to the island of Pearls, the theme is Peace on Earth to the People of Goodwill. Let's have a look at the specialities.
The motto for this apostolic visit is Peace on Earth for the People of Goodwill, taken from the Gospel of Luke chapter 2, verse 14. It signifies the message of peace and fraternity among religions that the Pope wishes to reiterate during this journey. The logo of the papal visit portrays the flags of the Kingdom of Bahrain and the Vatican, shaped like two hands jointly raised to the Creator in a plea for peace. The olive branch in the middle symbolizes the fruit of peace as the two nations encounter each other in the spirit of human fraternity and goodwill. Emblazoned on the logo are the words Pope Francis in blue to denote that the papal journey is entrusted to the intercession of the Blessed Virgin, who is honored in Bahrain as the Queen of Arabia.
This is going to be a historic event as the first visit of the supreme leader of more than 1 billion Catholics to the Persian Gulf state. Our Father will be meeting many prominent Muslim leaders and Catholic priests during the visit.
Pope Francis will be the first pontiff to ever visit Bahrain, the island of pearls in the Persian Gulf. His Holiness will visit the capital of Manama and Awali to participate in the Bahrain Forum for Dialogue, East and West for Human Coexistence. This will be the second apostolic journey of His Holiness the Pope to the Arabian Peninsula. The first visit was in February 2019 to the United Arab Emirates, where he signed the historic document on human fraternity with the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar in Egypt.
The residents of Bahrain are eagerly waiting to welcome the Holy Father, to see him, meet him, and to seek his blessings. Let's see how excited they are to receive our Pope. Let's have a look into the report by our reporter, Samantha.
We're here today in Sacred Heart Church, Manama. There are many people who have been living here in the Middle East for more than 8 years, and how they have so much joy and so much excitement to see Pope Francis. What are your thoughts on Pope Francis's visit here to Bahrain?
Well, that's a very amazing event that we hope everyone will enjoy. And we thank the Kingdom of Bahrain and the King to allow for this magnificent event. It's really amazing for us.
Well, the French community and the French Catholic community is pretty small, but it's been very active. And since we arrived 4 years ago, we've been coming to the Sunday Mass that is celebrated on Saturdays at the Sacred Heart Church. And I guess it's been growing. As we've seen today, we were about 50 in the church. 4 years ago, there was about 20 of us. So it sounds like there's emerging faith happening in Bahrain, and we're very blessed.
For us, it's amazing because we are living here like our country. The mind is very open. We have very family community here.
We are very excited because I think it was in Abu Dhabi a few years ago, but it's the first time it's going to be in Bahrain, and we can't believe it. It came suddenly, and everybody is so excited and fighting for the tickets, and it's really nice.
We're thrilled that the Pope's coming. This is a huge honor. The fact that he chose a tiny nation that a lot of people don't know exists. And there are really no words for how excited and honored we feel to be here and to be able to see the Pope and physically see him as opposed to through a screen.
For us, it's like a wow as well to be here as foreigners for us. And to have this occasion, it's like a miracle, we are very happy.
Everyone, the Christian community, for all the efforts they are putting in organizing the visits, and definitely really excited by the visit.
I think the community, my family, and a lot of people is very, very excited.
Very, very exciting, and I think fantastic move that he's doing for the community of the new Christians in the Middle East.
It's honestly been amazing because it's really a gem. Bahrain has provided more than a refuge because it's so open, so welcoming. It has so many activities in families, for everyone to feel comfortable, safe, and happy that it's allowed us to stay here for as long as we've been. And we hope to be here a bit longer.
I guess we are very blessed to have Pope Francis in Bahrain. We are all very excited and happy, especially the kids. They can't wait to see the Pope himself. And we thank you. We also thank Bahrain to have this organization and to have this Mass in Bahrain.
I'm just so blessed that the Pope Francis can take their time to come to Bahrain.
Vive le Papa!
Gracias, Papa Francisco, por venir a Bahrain. Bienvenido.
Yeah, well, what my wife is saying, gracias, Papa Francisco, means welcome, Pope Francis, because you're coming to Bahrain. We are very happy to receive you here in this grateful land.
Pope Francis to Bahrain!
Tina, you can see here they're so excited. Over to you.
So that shows the bundle of joy and excitement for the arrival of our Holy Father. And now, we're going to be joined by Bishop Paul Hinder, the head of Apostolic Vicariate of Northern Arabia, with us to share the importance of this papal visit and several more. Your Excellency, Bishop, warm welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm pleased to meet you.
Your Excellency, could you tell us what this papal visit means to believers in Bahrain and in the Apostolic Vicariate of Northern Arabia?
Yeah, for the believers in Bahrain, and I think beyond that, in the whole Vicariate of the Northern Arabia, it is an encouragement. You know, many of our people, they are feeling sometimes a little bit forgotten or even abandoned because they are migrants. They have most of them no citizenship here. They don't count very much on the world map. And now, seeing the Pope in their midst will be surely an experience. We are not forgotten. We have our importance as faithful, as people who live their Christian witness in a particular situation. And I think that in itself is something which fills also me as Bishop with joy.
What is the impact of this visit on peaceful coexistence between Christian and Muslim faiths on this peninsula?
Yeah, I would say it's a further step on a way that has been traced already some time ago, not only, but especially also during the last visit to the region in Abu Dhabi. Pope Francis is pushing forward that there be more contact, more understanding, mutual understanding, and especially more common action for the best of the world among the main religions, especially among Christians and Muslims. That is not so easy as people sometimes may think, but it is possible. And it is possible only, lastly, with the grace of God. As we are professing one God, the creator of heaven and earth, there is hope that we can find common ground and stand on it, and then also take bold decisions.
Given the excellent ties between Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, is there a chance that papal visit to this island nation paves a way to renew efforts of allowing public Christian worship in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, I am not the prophet, so I don't know that. I only hope. And I think it is surely a signal. And I know that in Saudi Arabia there are also people, not only among the migrants, but even among the Saudis, who wish that there be a progress in this regard. When will the dreams be fulfilled certain people have in Saudi Arabia, that I don't know. But we can pray, we can hope, and I think the visit of the Holy Father to Bahrain can be a step forward, even if he can't this time yet cross the bridge. But he is a bridge builder, and one day maybe it will happen.
Your Grace, what will be the impact of Holy Father's Mass and his prayer gathering at Our Lady of Arabia Cathedral on the believers as a whole?
Yeah, the Holy Mass is in itself the sacramental act where we commemorate the death and resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ, which in itself is a signal for peace, for the peace that comes from the risen Lord, as Jesus on the Easter morning said, "Peace be with you." And celebrating the Holy Eucharist will put at the core this message, which is also the motto of this visit. Now, the rest we'll have to leave to the providence of God, how it will work in the hearts of the people, how it will work in the heart around this nation. Then, of course, Our Lady of Arabia is the patroness of the region here. She will surely intercede for us who are living here and those outside. I am confident that the help, Mary help of the Christians, will be with us during this visit of the Holy Father and beyond that.
During the consecration of Our Lady of Arabia Cathedral last year, Cardinal Tagle appealed to young believers from various expat communities to give a serious thought about religious life. Do you expect the Holy Father to do something similar this time?
Yeah, expecting. I do not say to the Holy Father what he has to say. It's his free will to bring his message, and I'm sure he will be inspired by the Holy Spirit to do and to say the right thing. The message to challenge the young people who are living here, who have grown up here, to listen also to the inner voice, which may call them to a particular ministry within the church. Yes, I think that remains on the, I would say, on the agenda also of this church. By the way, in the whole region we have, if not thousands, but there are religious and priestly vocations which have grown in this land. They may not live here now, but they have been fertilized, I would say, in their faith here in this country. And I'm always proud when I hear that someone from one of the Gulf countries is ordained priest or has joined a religious congregation. Then say, okay, fine, even if he is not living here or she is not living here, it's a fruit of the faith community here in the Gulf, and that fills me with joy.
Your Excellency, is there a growth in faith across Avona, and do you foresee chances of new churches coming up in Qatar, Bahrain and Kuwait?
That we will see. I'm now an old man. I have built 7 or 8 churches during my time as bishop in the Gulf, so there are possibilities. Of course, it depends also on the collaboration and the goodwill with and the goodwill of the rulers in the country. Like we have it here in Bahrain, we had the chance, it started the process under Bishop Camilo Ballin to build the Cathedral of Our Lady of Arabia. There may be other possibilities, and I wish that, especially in Kuwait, also in Qatar, Saudi Arabia you have already mentioned. Maybe the day will come. Let it be in the providence of God. The need is there, so I do not think that in the near future the number of faithful will grow. I think because of the whole economic and political situation in the region, we have reached the peak of the numbers of Catholics in the region already some years back. But that doesn't mean that we have to stop. We can solidify what is already existing. And I think the experience of the migrant church in the Gulf has a message for the universal church, because we all are a church of pilgrims. And we in the Gulf experience that in a way which is more intense than even elsewhere.
Could you please brief the events of this papal visit?
Oh, there is the protocol, the usual protocol when the Holy Father, as the head of the state of the Vatican or the Holy See, is visiting. He is received by the head of the state. He is visiting with representatives of the government. There will be the meeting with Muslim representatives and leaders. We don't need to go into the detail. At the end of the forum, the interreligious forum, the Holy Father will speak a message, a talk, in which we are expecting a little bit a continuation of what he already said in Abu Dhabi or in Iraq or lastly in Kazakhstan. Then there will be the Holy Mass, as you already mentioned, in the National Stadium. It's a I think for most of the Catholics, the most important moment. Then there will be a meeting with priests, the religious and pastoral leaders of the laity at the Sacred Heart Church. And finally, a meeting with the youth at the school of Sacred Heart School in Issa Town. And before that, the ecumenical prayer at the Cathedral of Our Lady of Arabia. These are the strong points. I may not have brought them now in the chronological order, but the most important is the content and not the calendar.
Your Grace, one very last question to you. So, when you were in Southern Vicariate, Pope came there, and now you are here in charge of Northern Vicariate. Pope is here. Do you consider yourself very, very lucky to meet him several times? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, of course it's providential, but it's not my merit. And I don't think that I have a special attraction to from the side of the Pope. It is by chance that I am now in charge of the Northern Vicariate, which is the result of a rather tragic moment when Bishop Camillo Ballin, my predecessor here, passed away 2.5 years ago. I think he would have deserved, and he was expecting the visit of the Holy Father. It's now, it's the legacy of Bishop Camillo Ballin that I can experience this second visit in the region, and that fills me with joy. But it's not the question of persons. The most important is that the message of the Holy Father gets through to the people, and that something is growing from the seed he will do when he comes here to the region.
Well, thank you so much, Your Grace, for your valuable time to join us here at Shalom World. It's been a pleasure to hear you out. Thank you so much.
You are most welcome. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Thank you.
Well, that was Bishop Paul Hinder, who joined us in his busy schedule and shared his thoughts. Now we have very few more minutes left on this arrival of Pope Francis to this beautiful island. Meanwhile, there are different stalls opened in various locations across Bahrain related to Pope's visit. Our Shalom World reporter Samantha is in front of such a stall at Sacred Heart Church.
Pope Francis fever is at an all-time high, and this excitement can be seen at the merchandising stall. We have here with us a volunteer who would share her thoughts on all the Pope Francis visit to Bahrain.
There are a lot of parishioners who come over here in our stall to buy merchandises. We have here t-shirts, badges, ref magnets, and sashes. So we have a lot here. And every one of us here in Bahrain are very much excited because all of us love the Pope so much. And we are very much looking forward for his coming and this history journey in Bahrain.
What about the excitement that you can see among your family, your friends, and your community? Could you share some insight on that?
Yeah, we are, a lot of us, many of us are very much excited. Even me are very much excited in his coming. So all of us here are working together, helping each other to make sure that his visit will be a very successful one. So all of us are very much excited and happy
maybe getting...
You can't always.
This is the death.
Remarkably end.
Turn back. Towards God. Rise up.
When God called, they gave their fiat. A yes that still echoes in their lives. They embarked on a lifelong journey, a journey with Christ at its center.
The God who is so powerful to do all this, I can surely trust my life in His hands.
Men and women called to ministries of prayer, service, leadership, and of shepherding God's people.
God has a plan for my life. I can say that He made me His son.
Shalom World brings you inspirational vocation stories that explore the gift of priesthood and religious life.
Doing the will of God, and I feel that my life has more meaning than doing anything other in this world.
Some of our difficult moments in life, God alone will be with us.
Vocare, heeding the divine call. Thursdays, 8:30 p.m. on your Shalom World.
The 1960 presidential campaign pitted John F. Kennedy, a Catholic senator from Massachusetts, versus Richard Nixon.
The anti-Catholic prejudice comes back a little bit, not nearly as viciously as it did against Al Smith, because between 1928 and 1960, Catholics have risen. You know, they've risen in American society, they've risen in American culture, they've risen in American politics. It's not so outlandish to think that there could be a Catholic president.
Yet Kennedy still faces the age-old questions of anti-Catholics. Can you be a faithful Catholic and patriotic American?
But if this election is decided on the basis that 40 million Americans lost their chance of being president on the day they were baptized, then it is the whole nation that will be the loser in the eyes of Catholics and non-Catholics around the world, in the eyes of history, and in the eyes of our own people.
My children can't imagine a day when a Catholic was a lesser citizen or considered somehow a peculiarity. The triumph of 1960, though, wasn't that the Catholic idea won, it was that the rest of America accepted. I'm very proud of the role my family played in trying to show the common ground that the American experiment has with the Catholic tradition.
John Kennedy, he received the Supreme Knight of the Knights of Columbus in the Oval Office. And when Luke Hart walked into the room, he got up from his desk and he said, "Hello, Chief." He was a proud knight all his life.
You're watching the live broadcast of Apostolic Journey by Shalom World from Bahrain. Now we have few more minutes left for the arrival of Pope Francis to this beautiful island. He will be arriving at Sakir Air Base in Awali, followed by an official welcome at the base itself, after which he will be visiting the King of Bahrain, His Highness King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa at Sakir Palace, followed by a welcome ceremony. Later tonight, our Pope will be meeting the authorities, members of the diplomatic corps, and local representatives at the palace and conclude the evening by his speech. Yes, the wait is over. Our Holy Father, Pope Francis, is here in Bahrain. The flight is nearing the bay and all the officials of the state are eagerly waiting to receive him. Now you can see live from the airport.
The 1960 presidential campaign pitted John F. Kennedy, a Catholic senator from Massachusetts, versus Richard Nixon.
The anti-Catholic prejudice comes back a little bit, not nearly as viciously as it did against Al Smith, because between 1928 and 1960, Catholics have risen. You know, they've risen in American society. They've risen in America.
The 1960 presidential campaign pitted John F. Kennedy, a Catholic senator from Massachusetts, versus Richard Nixon.
The anti-Catholic prejudice comes back a little bit, not nearly as viciously as it did against Al Smith, because between 1928 and 1960, Catholics have risen. You know, they've risen in American society, they've risen in American culture, they've risen in American politics. It's not so outlandish to think that there could be a Catholic president.
Yet Kennedy still faces the age-old questions of anti-Catholics. Can you be a faithful Catholic and patriotic American?
But if this election is decided on the basis that 40 million Americans lost their chance of being president on the day they were baptized, then it is the whole nation that will be the loser in the eyes of Catholics and non-Catholics around the world, in the eyes of history, and in the eyes of our own people.
My children can't imagine a day when a Catholic was a lesser citizen or considered something.
رائد اوكي ولا خلاص؟ خلاص كثير كثير.
Pope Francis will be the first pontiff to ever visit Bahrain, the island of pearls in the Persian Gulf. His Holiness will visit the capital of Manama and Awali to participate in the Bahrain Forum for Dialogue, East and West for Human Coexistence. This will be the second apostolic journey of His Holiness the Pope to the Arabian Peninsula. The first visit was in February 2019 to the United Arab Emirates, where he signed the historic document on human fraternity with the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar in Egypt. Watch the live broadcast of the first apostolic journey to Bahrain, Peace to People of Goodwill, November 3rd to the 6th.
We have the greatest story ever told. We just need to tell it in a very compelling way.
Explore the new, re-explore the old, and be inspired to innovate.
Pain and suffering are not the factors that shreds one's faith. Confusion is.
I pray a holy hour every day at the gym.
From the heart of the church, talks by Catholic leaders, entrepreneurs, and innovators, igniting Catholic creativity and innovation.
The mission of the church is reconciling all things in Christ Jesus.
The new evangelization is about listening to where God is active, present in people's stories and in their lives, and in your relationships with them.
OSV Talks, tomorrow at 9:30 p.m.
Our sufferings and our sacrifice can obtain tremendous blessings for the world.
Dreams happen when you're asleep, but visions happen when you've been awakened. I think this is a time of awakening and for us to mobilize this dream into an actionable vision.
يا
Bahrain will host a global interfaith forum in November under the patronage of King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, named the Bahrain Dialogue Forum. It will be held on November 3rd and 4th under the theme, The East and the West for Human Coexistence. It is expected to attract over 200 leaders of faith from around the world. It is organized by the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs in Bahrain, in cooperation with the Muslim Council of Elders and the King Hamad Global Center for Peaceful Coexistence. The forum also features a series of poignant discussions to further cement the values of peace and tolerance. Watch the live broadcast of the First Apostolic Journey to Bahrain, Peace to People of Goodwill, November 3rd to the 6th. Pope Francis will be the first pontiff to ever visit Bahrain, the island of pearls in the Persian Gulf. His Holiness will visit the capital of Manama and Awali to participate in the Bahrain Forum for Dialogue, East and West for Human Coexistence. This will be the second apostolic journey of His Holiness the Pope to the Arabian Peninsula. The first visit was in February 2019 to the United Arab Emirates, where he signed the historic document on human fraternity with the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar in Egypt. Watch the live broadcast of the First Apostolic Journey to Bahrain, Peace to People of Goodwill, November 3rd to the 6th. One of the most notable events as part of the Interfaith Forum will be the meeting of the Holy Father with the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Ahmad Al-Tayeb. Al-Azhar is one of the oldest Islamic universities and is based in the Egyptian capital, Cairo. Pope Francis had met the Grand Imam during his previous visit to Kazakhstan. Once again, the two spiritual leaders will get a chance to foster greater understanding and dialogue between both religions. Watch the live broadcast of the First Apostolic Journey to Bahrain, Peace to People of Goodwill, November 3rd to the 6th. The island is home to the largest church on the Arabian Peninsula, the Cathedral of Our Lady of Arabia. The devotion to Our Lady of Arabia began on December 8, 1948, when a small chapel in Amati, Kuwait was dedicated to Our Lady under this title. The statue of Our Lady of Arabia was blessed in the Vatican in 1949 by Pope Pius XII, and the cathedral is modeled after the tent of meeting mentioned in the Old Testament. It has been built in this manner to represent the encounter between God and mankind. The cathedral is a model of religious harmony, a sign of tolerance in the Kingdom of Bahrain, and a great example of peaceful coexistence in the world. Watch the live broadcast of the First Apostolic Journey to Bahrain, Peace to People of Goodwill, November 3rd to the 6th. Bahrain will host a global interfaith forum in November under the patronage of King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, named the Bahrain Dialogue Forum. It will be held on November 3rd and 4th under the theme, The East and the West for Human Coexistence. It is expected to attract over 200 leaders of faith from around the world. It is organized by the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs in Bahrain, in cooperation with the Muslim Council of Elders and the King Hamad Global Center for Peaceful Coexistence. The forum also features a series of poignant discussions to further cement the values of peace and tolerance. Watch the live broadcast of the First Apostolic Journey to Bahrain, Peace to People of Goodwill, November 3rd to the 6th. Pope Francis will be the first pontiff to ever visit Bahrain, the island of pearls in the Persian Gulf. His Holiness will visit the capital of Manama and Awali to participate in the Bahrain Forum for Dialogue, East and West for Human Coexistence. This will be the second apostolic journey of His Holiness the Pope to the Arabian Peninsula. The first visit was in February 2019 to the United Arab Emirates, where he signed the historic document on human fraternity with the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar in Egypt. Watch the live broadcast of the First Apostolic Journey.
النشيد الوطني للكرسي الرسولي السلام الملكي البحريني. سلام قف. أستأذن جلالتكم بانصراف حاصل شرف سيف. أمر سيف. حرس إلى الداخل. شوف مارش ديل سر.
Your Majesty, King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, King of the Kingdom of Bahrain. Your Holiness, Pope Francis of the Vatican. Your Highnesses, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, a very good evening. It is a great honor and a pleasure to welcome you all here tonight to this great gathering marking this historic visit. On this occasion, the speech of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, King of the Kingdom of Bahrain.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. قداسة البابا فرانسيس، الحضور الكريم، باسمنا وباسم جميع أهل البحرين الكرام، يسعدنا أن نرحب بقداستكم في مملكة البحرين ضيفاً كريماً عزيزاً، وأن نعب لكم عن اعتزازنا بزيارتكم المباركة والتاريخية لأرض الحضارات العريقة الممتدة عبر التاريخ، في بلد التسامح والتعايش والسلام، متمنين لكم وللوفد المرافق طيب الإقامة، وأننا على ثقة بأن زيارتكم هذا التي تعنى لنا الكثير، لما لكم من مكانة رفيعة وتقدير عظيم في العالم أجمع.
Laudetur Jesus Christus, and welcome to today's live broadcast of Pope Francis' meeting with authorities, members of civil society, and members of the diplomatic corps, the first major public engagement on his apostolic journey to the Kingdom of Bahrain. You're joining us live with the event already in progress. You hear in the background the King of Bahrain, Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, who is now speaking in front of the Royal Palace with Pope Francis at his side. In a few moments we'll be hearing the Holy Father's address as well. My name is Christopher Wells. I'll be providing the English language commentary for this evening's event. Whether you're joining us through the various Vatican media channels, the Vatican audio or radio app, the Vatican News web portal, or our Vatican News YouTube channel, or via one of our partner stations, including Catholic Faith Network, Admid Arshan TV, Shalom World TV, Shalom World Television Networks USA, EWTN TV, Sultan Light TV, Luminous Radio, Catholic TV, Shalom TV India, or Sunday Shalom. A very warm welcome, one and all. As we mentioned, we are joining the meeting with civil leaders and the diplomatic corps already in progress. The King of Bahrain has welcomed Pope Francis to Bahrain as an honored guest, a dear guest, expressing his pride in what he described as the blessed and historic visit of Pope Francis to the land of ancient civilizations, thousands of years old, to the land of tolerance, coexistence, and peace, and wishing the Pope and his entourage a very pleasant stay in the country. The king is speaking in Arabic, so we will not be providing a full translation of his remarks, but giving précis of his talk based on the prepared speech that has been provided for us. The king speaks about Pope Francis's moral authority and high esteem in which he is held throughout the world, as well as his praiseworthy and blessed efforts to find consensus and mutual appreciation, and expresses the hope that the Holy Father will leave a great moral and spiritual imprint on the souls of those who love you in the Gulf region and in the Arab world. He speaks too about the mutual high regard and faith in which both the Kingdom and the Holy Father hold dialogue and communication, especially among the followers of the monotheistic religions, including a high regard for the truth and the desire for reform. He also highlights the need to protect and promote peace through the consolidation of the values of justice, charity, tolerance, and mutual respect. And adds, we join His Holiness in saying that peace is our only path to hope for a secure future where friendship and stability reign.
إلى وقف الحرب الروسية الأوكرانية وبدء المفاوضات الجادة بين الطرفين ولن تتأخر مملكة البحرين عن القيام بأي دور في هذا المجال. The king notes the ancient roots of the Kingdom of Bahrain, بأن مثل هذه الشراكات الدولية الفاعلة ستسهم دون شك, including some 5,000 years of human and cultural capital, and the fact that Bahrain, because of its unique position, has been a meeting place for many world civilizations. It's been a place of connection between East and West, especially encouraging trade between different cultures and religions. He highlights the open and tolerant climate
of his nation, and expresses hope that the Holy Father will experience the peaceful coexistence among followers of different religions, which he says marks his country. And speaks about the freedom of followers of different religions to exercise their beliefs and build places of worship. While noting the special relationship of Islam in his country, but notes that religious freedom is fostered by his reign, and describes that as a reality that Bahrain has always protected to ensure social stability and human civilization. The king also highlights an initiative launched by Bahrain to support peace efforts in the world, the Declaration of the Kingdom of Bahrain, launched a few years ago, a document that calls for diversity and rejecting religious discrimination and condemning violence and incitement to violence. And the king has finished his address. We will now be hearing from our Holy Father, Pope Francis. Who I believe will be speaking in Italian. The Holy Father begins by greeting the King, the members of the royal family, members of the government and diplomatic corps, as well as distinguished religious and civil authorities, and greets them with the Arabic greeting, Assalamu alaikum. I express my deep gratitude to His Majesty for his invitation to visit the Kingdom of Bahrain, for his warm and gracious welcome and his kind words. I greet all of you most cordially. I'd like to address a word of friendship and affection to everyone living in this country, to every believer and individual, and to the members of every family, which the Constitution of Bahrain defines as the basis of society. To all I express my joy to be here in your midst. Here, where the waters of the sea surround the sands of the desert, and imposing skyscrapers rise beside traditional Oriental markets, very different realities come together. Ancient and modern converge, tradition and progress mix, and above all, people from various backgrounds create a distinctive mosaic of life. In preparing for my visit, I learned about one outstanding emblem of vitality in this country, which is the Tree of Life, Shajarat al-Hayat. I'd like to take it as my inspiration for sharing a few thoughts with you. The tree itself is a majestic acacia that has survived for centuries in a desert area with very little rainfall. It seems impossible that a tree of this age has been able to live and flourish in these conditions. According to many people, the secret is to be found in its roots, which extend for dozens of meters beneath the ground, drawing from the subterranean deposits of water. So, the roots. The Kingdom of Bahrain is committed to remembering and cherishing its past, which tells of an extremely ancient land, to which thousands of years peoples came, drawn by its beauty, due especially to the abundant springs of fresh water that gave it the reputation of being a paradise. The ancient kingdom of Daman was thus called the land of the living. As we ascend from these vast roots, which spread for more than 4,500 years of uninterrupted human presence, we see how Bahrain's geographical position, the talents and commercial abilities of its people, together with historical events, have enabled Bahrain to take shape as a crossroads of mutual enrichment between peoples. One thing stands out in the history of this land: it has always been a place of encounter between different peoples. This is, in fact, the life-giving water from which today, too, Bahrain's roots continue to be nourished. The country's greatest riches shine forth in its ethnic and cultural diversity and in the peaceful coexistence and the traditional hospitality of its people. Diversity that is not bland but inclusive is the wealth of every truly developed country. On these islands we can admire a composite, multi-ethnic and multi-religious society capable of overcoming the risk of isolation. This is so important in our time, when the tendency to turn in exclusively on ourselves and on our particular interests prevents an appreciation of the essential importance of the greater whole. The numerous national, ethnic, and religious groups that coexist in Bahrain testify that we can and must live together in our world, which in these decades has become a global village. Indeed, although globalization has taken root, in many ways we still lack the spirit of a village, as shown by hospitality, concern for others, and a sense of fraternity. Instead, we are witnessing with deep concern the massive spread of indifference and our mutual distrust, the burgeoning of rivalries and conflicts that we had hoped were a thing of the past, in forms of populism, extremism, and imperialism that jeopardize the security of all. In spite of progress in so many forms of social and scientific achievements, the cultural disparity between various parts of the world is growing, and destructive attitudes of conflict are preferred to beneficial encounters, opportunities for fruitful encounter. Let us think instead of the tree of life, and to the parched deserts of human coexistence, let us bring the water of fraternity. May we never allow opportunities for encounter between civilizations, religions, and cultures to evaporate, or the roots of our humanity to become desiccated and lifeless. Let us work together. Let us work in the service of togetherness and hope. I am here in this land of the tree of life as a sower of peace in order to experience these days of encounter and to take part in a form of dialogue between East and West for the sake of peaceful human coexistence. I thank even now my traveling companions, especially the representatives of the religions. These days mark a precious stage in the journey of friendship that has intensified in recent years with various Islamic religious leaders, a fraternal journey that beneath the gaze of heaven seeks to foster peace on earth.
A tale proposito esprimo apprezzamento per le conferenze internazionali e per le opportunità di incontro che questo regno organizza e favorisce.
In this regard, I express my appreciation for the international conferences and the possibilities for encounter that this kingdom organizes and promotes, stressing in particular the themes of respect, tolerance, and religious freedom. These are fundamental themes recognized by the country's constitution, which lays down that there shall be no discrimination on the basis of sex, origin, language, religion, or creed, that freedom of conscience is absolute, and that the state guarantees the inviolability of worship. These are, above all, commitments that need constantly to be put into practice so that religious freedom will be complete and not limited to freedom of worship, that equal dignity and equal opportunities will be concretely recognized for each group and for every individual, that no forms of discrimination exist, and that fundamental human rights are not violated but promoted. I think in the first place of the right to life, of the need to guarantee that right always, including for those being punished, whose lives should not be taken. Let us return to the tree of life. In the course of time, its many branches of varying size have produced abundant foliage, thus increasing the tree's height and breadth. In this country, it was the remarkable contribution made by so many individuals from different peoples that enabled a remarkable increase in productivity. This was made possible by immigration. The Kingdom of Bahrain vaunts one of the highest levels of immigration in the world. About half of the resident population are foreigners, working in an evident way for the development of a country in which, despite leaving their native countries behind, they feel at home. At the same time, we must acknowledge that in our world, unemployment levels remain all too high, and much labor is in fact dehumanizing. This does not only entail a grave risk of social instability, but constitutes a threat to human dignity. For labor is not only necessary for earning a livelihood, it is a right, indispensable for integral self-development and the shaping of a truly humane society. From this country, which is so attractive for the employment opportunities that it provides, I would like to call attention once more to the global labor crisis. Labor is as precious as bread. Like bread, it is often lacking, and often, too, it is a bread that is poisoned, since it enslaves. In both cases, what is central are no longer men and women who, rather than being the sacred and inviolable end and goal of work, are reduced instead to a mere means of producing wealth. Let us guarantee that working conditions everywhere are safe and dignified, that they foster rather than hinder people's cultural and spiritual growth, and that they serve to advance social cohesion to the benefit of common life and the development of each country. Bahrain can be proud of its significant contributions in this regard. I think, for example, of the first school for women established in the Gulf, and of the abolition of slavery. May it be a beacon through the region for the promotion of equal rights and improved conditions for workers, women, and young people, while at the same time ensuring respect and concern for all those who feel most at the margins of society, such as immigrants and prisoners. For an authentic, humane, and integral development is measured above all by the concern shown to them. The Tree of Life, rising up from the desert landscape, also makes me think of two critical areas for everyone, but challenge above all those who in governing are responsible for serving the common good. First, the question of the environment. How many trees are cut down? How many ecosystems are devastated? How many seas are polluted by our insatiable human greed, which then comes back to bite us? Let us work together tirelessly in confronting this dramatic emergency and enact concrete and far-sighted decisions inspired by concern for coming generations before it is too late and their future is compromised. May the United Nations Climate Change Conference, set to take place in Egypt a few days from now, mark a step forward in this regard. Second, the Tree of Life, whose roots, that deepen the subsoil, furnish vital water to the trunk, and from the trunk to the branches, and then the leaves that give oxygen to creatures, makes me think of our human vocation, the vocation of each man and woman on earth to make life flourish. Yet today we increasingly witness lethal actions and threats. I think especially of the monstrous and senseless reality of war, which everywhere sows destruction and crushes hope. War brings out the worst in man, selfishness, violence, and dishonesty. For war, every war, brings in its wake the death of truth. Let us reject the logic of weapons and change course, diverting enormous military expenditures to investments in combating hunger and the lack of health care and education. I grieve deeply for all these situations of conflict. Surveying the Arab Peninsula, whose countries I greet with sincere respect, my thoughts turn in a particular and heartfelt way to Yemen, torn by a forgotten war that, like every war, issues not in victory, but only in bitter defeat for everyone. I especially keep in my prayers the civilians, the children, the elderly, and the sick, and I beg, let there be an end to the clash of weapons. Let us be committed everywhere and concretely to building peace. The Kingdom of Bahrain Declaration acknowledges in this regard that religious faith is a blessing to all mankind and the foundation for peace in the world. I am here today as a believer, as a Christian, as a man, and as a pilgrim of peace, because today, more than ever, we are called everywhere to commit ourselves seriously to peacemaking. Your Majesty, Your Royal Highnesses, distinguished authorities and friends, I thus make my own and share with you as my hope and prayer for these greatly desired days of my visit in the Kingdom of Bahrain, a fine passage of the same declaration. It reads, "We commit to working for a world where people of sincere belief join together to reject that which divides us and concentrate instead on celebrating and expanding on that which unites us. So may it be, with the blessing of the Most High. Shukran." Thank you.
Very much, Your Holiness. Your Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, King of the Kingdom of Bahrain, Your Holiness Pope Francis of the Vatican, Your Highnesses, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, thank you very much for joining us. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
And the Holy Father has concluded his address. As we mentioned at the beginning of our broadcast, this is the first major event for the Pope's visit to Bahrain. He arrived in the kingdom just about an hour or so ago. And after a welcoming ceremony at the airport, the secure airbase in Awali, he paid a courtesy visit to His Majesty the King, where they were able to speak together privately at the Sakir Royal Palace. Following that private meeting, there was the official welcome ceremony here in the courtyard of the palace. And now, of course, the meeting with authorities, members of civil society, and members of the diplomatic corps. With the conclusion of the speeches by the King and by Pope Francis, members of those groups now have the opportunity to briefly greet the Holy Father in a reception line. This is the only event scheduled for this afternoon. It's already closing in on 7 o'clock for Bahrain time. Tomorrow, the Holy Father will be celebrating Mass privately to begin the day. He will then take part in the closing of the Bahrain Forum for Dialogue, East and West for Human Coexistence. That was mentioned by both the King and by the Pope. Our Holy Father will be speaking at that event, and of course we'll be carrying that live. Tomorrow afternoon, the Pope will have a private meeting with the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar. And later, we'll have a meeting with members of the Muslim Council of Elders at the Mosque of the Sakir Royal Palace, where the Pope will be speaking. Later, at the end of a busy day, the Holy Father will have an ecumenical encounter and prayer for peace at the cathedral. The Pope will also be speaking at that event. So a busy day tomorrow. We do invite you to join us for our live coverage on Vatican Radio of all of those various events. We invite you to visit our Vatican News web portal, www.vaticannews.va, where we'll have full coverage of all of the moments of the Holy Father's visit to Bahrain, as well as other church and world news. Once again, my name is Christopher Wells. It's been a great pleasure providing the English language translation of this evening's event with the authorities, members of civil society, and diplomatic corps in Bahrain, the Pope's first event on this 39th journey outside of Italy. On behalf of Vatican Radio, I'd like to thank our partners who help make these live broadcasts available throughout the world, including Catholic Faith Network, Ahmed Arshan TV, Shalom World Television Networks, USA, EWN TV, Salt and Light TV, Luminous Radio, Catholic TV, Shalom TV India, and Sunday Shalom. I'd like to thank all of our producers and technicians here in the studio who have made this broadcast possible. Finally, thanks to all of you for joining us today. Praise be Jesus Christ. Laudetur Jesus Christus.
Hope you had an enriching and fulfilling experience with us. Pope Francis arrived at Sakir Air Base today evening. He visited the King of Bahrain, His Highness King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, at Sakir Palace, followed by a welcoming ceremony. Later in the evening, he met with the authorities, members of the diplomatic corps, and local representatives at the palace and concluded the evening by his speech. Tomorrow, the Pope will be attending the closing ceremony of Bahrain Forum for Dialogue. He will be having a private meeting with Sheikh Ahmed E. Taib, Grand Imam of Egypt's Al-Azhar Mosque and University, meeting with the members of the Muslim Council of Elders at the Royal Palace's Mosque, and ecumenical meeting and a prayer for peace at Our Lady of Arabia Cathedral, Awali. Those who missed the event can watch it on our YouTube channel. Visit and log on to www.youtube.com/shalomworld. Thank you all so much for watching and staying with us today. See you all tomorrow. Good night.
The island is home to the largest church on the Arabian Peninsula, the Cathedral of Our Lady of Arabia.